Yes, as Martin introduced me, I am a proud team member of the Martin Eiden team here at Compass. And today in our Ask an Expert series, I'm very proud to introduce Jason Meshekow of InTouch Insurance. Jason is my go-to insurance professional. And Jason, how about you briefly tell our Zoom audience about yourself and your company, and then we'll get into our questioning. You got to unmute yourself, Jason.
Hey, Dad, you have to unmute yourself. You have the floor now. You have the floor.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. I had a technical glitch there. Thank you, Whit. I've known Whit for over probably 10, 11 years. Go-to real estate residential broker. InTouch Insurance is a full-service risk management and insurance brokerage. Almost coming up. June 1st will be 10 years. I've been in the business 20 years. 65% of what InTouch on the insurance side is commercial, 30% is residential, and the other 10 is life and health products. We're licensed in 32 states. West Coast, we have an operation. East Coast is about 30-35% of our business, and the Midwest, we have about 10 or 15% of our book of business. So we basically cover the United States and work with our partners across the U.S. and partnering with you nice, good folks at Compass.
Fantastic. So let's get into the heart of the matter. Let's talk a little bit about the impacts of COVID-19 on people's insurance. And I've got a number of areas where I'd like to, pick your brain. So let's start off with simple ones, homeowners insurance, and then we'll get into auto and medical, etc. Let's start off with homeowners.
Sure. So homeowners. So we represent the Chubbs, the Hartfords, the Travelers, the non-captive companies. A captive company would be a USAA, an Allstate, State Farm, Farmers, etc., AAA. In the carriers that we represent, we're seeing discounts of up to 15% on the homeowners as well as the auto. We'll get to auto in a minute. So if you have a homeowner's account, check with your broker to see if you're getting the discount or that carrier is offering a 10 to 15% discount for the next couple months to get us through the stay-at-home orders, so forth and so on, to give some of the insurance policyholders some relief. So that's what I'm seeing on the homeowners. Like we can get into the auto. The auto is, I told a couple of my clients the other day, here's an interesting, I would say trick, but advice. So mileage on auto, since everybody's staying at home right now, they're not using their auto. So if they're leasing a car, a lot of the leasing companies, the financial aspect. So if you're with Infinity or with Toyota, Lexus, and so forth, they're giving some relief on the payments for your lease. That's step one. Step two on the auto, mileage. So let's say you drive your car 15,000 miles a year and you report that mileage to the insurance carrier to rate it accordingly. Well, no one's going to be driving 15,000 miles a year currently if you're stuck at home or you're quarantined. So I would talk with your broker in reducing your mileage to something that is comfortable, maybe half, so you can get some relief on the premium. In addition, they're also giving 15%. I've seen this across the board on the captive companies on Allstate and State Farm, and even Mercury Insurance, Travelers, Chubb, Hartford, and Liberty Mutual, which is Safeco on the West Coast. So they're giving up to 15% off. Check your bills, give them a call your agent, and you can go ahead and get some relief premium-wise that way.
So those great advice.
So Jason, just as a quick
Go
call,
ahead.
you have to call the insurance people to get the discount, or how does that work?
If you don't see it on your bill, if you're doing automatic ACH withdrawals every month to get up to 5% off of your premium, some carriers offer that. Look at your stubs and look at the payment invoices that they're mailing you to make sure that you're getting a 15% discount. Go to their website. If it's a captive company like a State Farm or Farmers or Allstate, call your agent right there to make sure you're getting the 15% off. If it's a Mercury or a Travelers, then you call your independent agent to try to make sure not only change your mileage, but to go ahead and get your 15% off if you don't see it already. So they've offered it and the emails have been out. We've sent it to our clients in our office, but from the standpoint of making sure, you're getting the discount, look at what you're getting in the mail and then call accordingly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's good advice. Let's talk maybe a little bit about, have we seen any changes in medical insurance, or do you see anything changing there as well too due to the virus?
Yes. Normally, it depends what kind of medical insurance you have. So if you have a company and you're on a small group, so small group, according to the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, is under 99 employees. So if you're under 99 employees, you've been noticing a 5 to 10% increase per year on your renewal. That's going to go up. I'm hearing from the providers based on what's going on with COVID-19 that you're looking at maybe 10 to 20% or even higher. So if you are a small group, you might want to look at options or talk to your insurance broker. There's certain risk management aspects that we go ahead and implement that could take a small group that has under 99 lives and outsource them to a PEO, which is a professional employer organization. One that we partner with at InTouch is called TriNet, and they outsource the HR and the admin and the health benefits, and they roll them into a large group plan with all of their other companies, and they're able to get a substantial discount accordingly from rolling from a small group to a large group. As far as an individual family plan, you want to go ahead and look at what you're paying now, and it could be 10 to 20% higher in another year. So I'm looking at rates in Q4 and even in 2021 to be 10 to 20 to 25% higher currently. So that's something if we have a lot of small groups here or we have individual family plans, it's going to be tough. I mean, individual family plans, if you have, it is. And I'm taking some of our clients currently that are small group, and I'm advising them and giving them the options to either go into a PEO to get pulled into large group rates to get them a substantial discount, or a discount for that matter.
Wow. Okay. What about anything in life insurance? Do you have any stories about what's going on with that? Because it's got to be tough with the stay-at-home orders.
I'm currently working on a case right now that it's $10 million. Someone, one of our clients needs it. We were able to find someone that was in California because, Northern California, they have a lockdown. There's shelter in place. So, it depends where you are around the country. There are different, procedures and protocols as far as what you can do and what you can't do. So we were able to get an examiner to do an examination on that as an emergency. So that's one aspect. Another aspect I've heard is if you're looking for a $1 to $2 million term or universal life policy, you might not need an examination. They would do a telehealth like this, a telehealth interview as far as the medical history of that individual that's going for life insurance, and might not be a need for an exam for $1 million or $2 million face limit. So that's something that can be advantageous currently. If you don't want to go through the whole exam, you can go ahead and do a telehealth interview, sort of like on a Zoom call, with a nurse for the examiner's office, and then go from there. So there's a couple options that we're looking at on the life. As far as the premiums, I haven't seen any significant premiums on the life insurance side. So,
all right. So yeah, that was kind of my follow-up
Right.
question was, let's say, somebody says, well, wow, I have $1 million policy, and I got that 10 years ago when I just started my family, but now that I'm really doing the math, I need $2-3 million policy to get the additional amount. The rates hasn't gone up because of this yet. Is
No.
that okay?
No, I mean, it's obviously down. The rates haven't gone up on life insurance. You're either standard or preferred, or, there's certain tiers based on your medical history if you smoke or have other underlying conditions. But it's from the standpoint of a preferred rate, no, I have not seen anything on the life insurance side. So that I have not seen of. That's completely different on the health side. I mean, because when the COVID-19 first came out, it was, I think, to get a test, it was thousands of dollars, and the providers did not know how to go ahead and respond. But from the life insurance side, no, I have not seen that, Martin, at all. So that's a good thing. So if you want to get life insurance, now's the time. If you
Yeah.
needed $1 million or $2 million, now would be the time to go ahead and do it, and you might not need an examination for that small of a face limit.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move on to maybe small business, and a couple areas here with small business. Let's talk maybe about business interruption insurance, and then maybe go into workers' comp as well too, and see how, what impacts are we seeing in those areas.
Okay, so everybody's heard of business interruption. I think that's the biggest talking point on commercial insurance. So let me back up. I'll go back to the mid to early 2000s. Commercial insurance is a little bit different than homeowners or personal insurance. So in the property section of a commercial policy, you have the business personal property, and then you have business interruption. So business interruption is the money that the insurance company pays to a policyholder of a business to keep their business afloat and running. For that's payroll, it's any expenses during a time of a loss. So if you have an office building and it's burnt down, you file a claim. That loss specifically lists, your insured location or your office, and the insurance company goes ahead and pays accordingly. In the 2000s, the carriers started putting on, due to the Ebola, the SARS, the N1H1 pandemic of 2009, 2010, exclusions for viruses and bacteria. 95, 96% of policies on the property side have these exclusions, and on the commercial, general liability side. So they have these exclusions on there. To answer your question, in 2001, you had the 9/11 event. Then in 2002, to respond to the insurance exposure for foreign terrorism, you had the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act. And I think George W. put that together with both the House and the Senate to push that through. And that was an endorsement or a buyback coverage for policyholders if they thought that they were exposed for foreign terrorism, like a 9/11 event, and that insurance endorsement paid if there was a loss, the policyholder. I sat on a call the other day with the Insurance Commissioner of California, and Maxine Waters, who's a House of Rep. I forgot what district she is in Southern California. She's putting together a task force and a committee to go ahead and try to put some kind of business interruption pandemic coverage for businesses, whether it's attorneys, restaurants, CPAs, so forth and so on.
This
From
is
that
national.
standpoint, This is going to be national, and she's putting that together. We can disseminate it afterwards. I can give it to Martin and Whit, and you can send that around. And then in addition to that, I've also read articles and heard from insurance carriers that they feel that the government's going to put pressure on the insurance companies to pay some portion of the business interruption claims that have come out there, even though they had an exclusion for viruses and bacteria.
Right. So I got a question that came to me, Jason.
Sure.
Sorry, that says on the business interruption claim, what records, information, and documentation is needed to make the claim, and what can an insured do to get the information ready for the claim?
That's a good question. So you have to look at what your revenue was from 2019, and I would look at March, April, and May. I mean, if this goes on another month, you can go June. So if your revenue and you have a hardship, let's say you're a non-essential business. So I have several clients that are non-essential businesses. They're shut down. So they were running at maybe $1 million, $1.5 million of revenue per month. And that's what they were running at in March of 19, April of 19, and May of 19. So you need to get those records from your CPA, from your bookkeeper, and then substantiate that with your current loss. So if you're shut down, obviously your revenue is zero. If your loss or your AR or your accounts receivable is half because people can't pay you, then you want to look at what your revenue was from the same time period from the prior year. So that's something that you can get together, and then you can go ahead and work with your broker on it, and then go ahead and file a claim. I'm advising all my clients, whether they have the exclusion or not, and like I said, 95% of them do, is to file a claim, because you need a denial letter. So once you get a denial letter back from the insurance carrier saying, okay, well, you have the exclusion for viruses and bacteria, there is no wording in there on a pandemic, and there is no wording on there for being shut down for civil authority, which basically triggered, not only your loss of income, but your loss, of you shutting down if you're a non-essential company. So then you can take that denial letter and go to the Department of Insurance for your state, and then have them go ahead and examine it with your broker. So there's a lot of different ways of trying to go ahead and have the states on the insurance commissioner side and their office go ahead and look at denial letters. And that's what we're doing right now. But to answer your question, Martin, they need to look at what the revenue is from the same time period the prior year.
Okay, that sounds great. And another question that came up is what about worker compensation insurance for real estate brokers? Is that even something that you can get, or how does that work?
Yes, you can get workers' compensation for real estate brokers. Yes.
Yeah. So actually, I was going to push you
ahead.
into, let's talk in general about workers' comp and how is that being impacted, and then move that into specifically about real estate brokers.
I have not seen workers' comp being impacted. The insurance market was starting to get a little harder, meaning the premiums were going up and there was less capacity, because the reinsurance market from 2019 on the disaster side, so I'm talking about hurricanes, tornadoes, et cetera, in the United States. So the reinsurance market was starting to get a little bit tight. So the premiums were going up a little bit depending on what classification you are and what kind of business you were. So if you were a manufacturer, distributor, or wholesaler, depending on what you do, the premiums might be going up accordingly. As far as workers' comp, I haven't seen it. It's pretty competitive in the state of California. It's pretty competitive in the state of New York. There's a lot of different workarounds where you can outsource your workers' comp to a professional employee organization, like I talked about with like a TriNet that we partner with. From that standpoint, you can go ahead and outsource it and get a very preferred rate. If you're a distressed market and if you're a contractor or construction, that's a higher rate, higher classification, or even a moving company. You can even outsource that into different professional employee organizations to get a preferred rate on workers' comp without going to the state fund, which is the last resort of California or the state of New York. So I'm not seeing WIT as far as the workers' comp going up. I think it's highly competitive, especially in
It's highly
California.
competitive now, but we actually do have a question that while premiums haven't gone up at this point, do you expect to see large increases once the dust settles?
I think you'll see increases across the board. You might see it in workers' comp. You definitely will probably see it in property. That's remains to be seen. But I do think as this plays out, there definitely will be more and more, I would say, pressure from the insurance companies, not only to pay out the claims, but to look at their margins and increase the premiums accordingly. Currently, there's 3 or 4 carriers out there that we represent that are not canceling policyholders for non-payment of premium. So it's, I told someone the other day, it's like the wild, wild west. I mean, it changes every day, just like the news that we get about this changes every minute. I do think it will change, and you can probably get increases later this year or next year. So anything's possible. I'm not seeing it currently, but it's not like healthcare where I'm already talking to insurance companies and they're looking at 10 to 25% increases, which is substantial.
So as we're getting closer to the end of our half hour, I do want to also hit insurance, cybersecurity. I know you do a lot of work in that realm. Can you talk to us briefly about that? And then we'll see if we have any other questions before we wrap up.
Someone came to me yesterday and their daughter's identity or their social security number was compromised. This is happening every day. On the personal side, if you're not with an identity theft company, make sure that you sign up for one today. LifeLock, Norton, Symantec, All Clear ID, Experian, anything that you're able to lock your credit, anything you'll be able to monitor. I have 3 of them. I do a lot of cybersecurity policies. I'm writing 3 of them this week. A lot of people are concerned about their exposures, and actually I'm partnering with Critical Start next week on a webinar on cybersecurity. So I'll make sure that we send that out to everybody here, and we'll talk about individuals as well as companies and working from home and what you can do to protect yourself. But in the short time that we have, make sure that you go ahead and everybody has a subscription to one of these companies and lock your credit.
No matter if your credit's been compromised or not, you're saying ahead of time.
Well, if your credit's been compromised, then not only you got to go to the authorities and make a police report, but there's cybersecurity companies that we partner with that you can go ahead and also work with individually, individually to go ahead and they can remedy the breach that you had on your identity, and then they can go ahead and protect you moving forward.
And so, no pun intended, but quickly, what are your thoughts on the health of the insurance industry after COVID-19?
It really depends what the government and the states put pressure on the business interruption claims. It will open Pandora's box if the government forces the insurance companies to go ahead and pay these policies that are otherwise excluded for viruses and bacteria, so forth and so on. I'm curious to see the legislation that they're going to probably write later this year, or maybe in the summertime, as far as making an endorsement or a rider on the life insurance side to go ahead and cover pandemics and civil authorities. I think everybody would jump on board to buy that endorsement because that will protect it moving forward, and it will have the insurance companies pay out. So it's a fluid situation. If I had a crystal ball, I would have to think that the government will try to have the insurance companies pay out some of these business interruption claims. That's why I'm advising all my clients to put in the claim, get a denial letter, go to the Department of Insurance, and then go through that process because they have a letter and they put in a claim. And then to Martin's question, to substantiate your revenue from 2019 to 2020.
That's great. Thank you very much. I don't know. Do we have any other questions out there? Martin, do you see anything?
No other questions that we have at the time right here. And Jason, thank you so much. I mean, this is like a ton of information out there, and you've been really great at giving very good detailed answers on a number of topics. When we have this recording go out again, or the taping of it, we'll have your contact information on and everything else. And do you have any, I guess, departing words, so to speak, before?
Work with your broker, work with your insurance professional. If you have revenue losses on the business interruption, make sure that you file a claim no matter what if it's excluded. On the personal side, on the homeowners, check with your agent, make sure you're getting the discounts, and then change your mileage, because that will save you some premium and you're not going to be using your car. I got a new car in December 15th and I got 1,600 miles on it, and we're almost in May. No one's driving. So, and you know, it's going to be pretty limited for a long time. So take advantage of that and make sure you're getting the 15% discounts on your payment stubs from the carriers or your invoices that you're getting. And if I will I'll send it to Whit and Martin for our cybersecurity webinar next week. It's going to be very interactive. There are going to be a lot of questions. It's going to be like this. And it will talk about individuals, how to protect yourself, what to look for. And then on the business side, if you're working from home, do I need a firewall? What's remote desktop, so forth and so on. How do I go ahead and mitigate that? And that's going to be a pretty comprehensive, webinar. It'll be very interactive too. So I appreciate that. You know, you can send that off to the attendees. And I think everybody's got a cybersecurity story, and that's something that you can protect yourself now.
Good. Well, thanks, and also Whit, thank you for hosting this as well. I'll let you do the sign off, and that's that.
Well,
thank you.
Thanks very much, Martin, and thank you very much, Jason from InTouch Insurance. We really appreciate your expertise and comments on these trying times and the impacts of COVID-19 on the insurance industry at this point. Thank you.
Whit, appreciate it. Martin, thanks a lot for the invitation, and look forward to hopefully speaking with all of you next week or next month.
Great.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That'll wrap us.